So now we're going to add another expense. So this one is going to be an expense where it may be best to just estimate it based off of how often you pay for it. So we're going to go over to the infrequent tab. Remember, I told you that these three tabs are really just differentiating the calculation method, right? So we're going to go over to infrequent tab, and at the bottom of the list, you can hit the add infrequent item to create your own unique budget item using this calculation method. So right now we're going to go ahead and add gas. We're going to go ahead and categorize this expense. For me, it's a mandatory expense. All right, so let me show you how this portion works because this is different than just adding a normal common budget item. So what you're going to do is you're going to put how much you typically spend per visit. Now remember, this is different from the last one. Remember the last one we put how much we typically spend per month. This one is how much you typically spend per visit. Now you have the two cost fields, right? Remember, you got your current home and that's your future home. Now, who knows, right? In your future home, you may be dedicated to spending the same amount per visit at the gas station every time you go. If that's the case, then just go ahead and put the same value in both fields. But let's say you're moving further away from your job and you know you're going to be spending more money on gas. This is your opportunity to start planning for that, right? So instead of putting $20 per visit, maybe you're spending $30 per visit. So you'll go ahead and put that value in here. So after you got that, the next thing you want to press is that select frequency button. Now this is going to give you the chance to input how often you make this purchase so the app can figure out how much you need to be putting aside for this every month. So we're going to say we go to the gas station about twice a week. We're going to hit this confirm button in the top right corner, and you're going to get greeted with a little heads up message saying we're about to recalculate these values into a monthly value. And boom, based off of how often we go to the gas station and how much we typically spend per gas station visit, we got our two values right here, 173 bucks right now. And when we get into our new house, it'll be around 260 bucks that we'll be putting aside in our budget for gas. So now we're going to go ahead with the rest of the information for this expense. It's not a debt, right? So we're going to skip that section. It's not a bill. We're going to skip that section. But this is something that I want to include in my emergency fund, right? So I'm going to go ahead and check this box. And since this is going in my emergency fund, you have to also specify which vault to save this in, right? This is very important. It's not going to let you continue without that. And for this expense in particular, we don't need to necessarily set up a toggle. So we're going to go ahead and skip this section. But this is a gas station purchase. And you know, credit cards typically have rewards for gas station purchases. So we're going to go ahead and establish the credit card that we're going to use for our gas purchases. And we're going to put the rewards category so we can go ahead and calculate the value that we're getting in the credit cards tab. All right, and to close it out, we're going to hit that add budget item to add it into our budget. And let's scroll up to the category that we got. We got 173. We toggled on this future home expenses. You can see the now and the later expenses, and you can see how our budget is being affected. All right, so now we're going to go over to the credit cards tab, and we're going to look at that expense that we got on the Hilton Honors card, and you can see it's showing up in the gas category, 173 bucks, and we're getting about $5.20 a month just by putting our gas transactions on this card. But this is the only transaction on this card right now, and you see we're kind of still in the negative, right? But you can see it's accurately calculating about how many points we're going to be getting per month and the cash equivalent of that, but not only for the monthly value, but also on a yearly basis as well. You know, it extrapolates that all the way onto the yearly basis because it's going to compare it against your annual fee. So you're going to be able to evaluate if what you're spending on this card is going to justify the annual fee.